Welcome back to Marketplace Middle East. All-out tensions between Israel and Hamas have stood in the way of potential energy development offshore of Gaza. The Gaza Marine Field was discovered back in 2000, but conflict and politics have stood in the way of actual production. I asked Simon Henderson of the Washington Institute, what is the potential of this field?
Well, in world terms, the Gaza Marine offshore field is of no particular consequence. It's a fraction of the size of other gas fields, but it's just on the cusp of being a size which can be commercially exploited, and in Palestinian terms, it is their largest single economic asset and could change the way the Palestinian Authority obtains revenues and could provide much more reliable electricity to both the West Bank and in particular the Gaza Strip.
I remember back in 2000, Yasser Arafat actually described this as a gift from God. 14 years later, with formerly British Gasfield BG having the rights to explore it, would you still say it's that sort of gift for the Palestinians going forward?
This is a gas field which would be expensive to exploit in that before you can get it, you have to spend upward of $800 million, perhaps even $1 billion. But once you do that, you've got 15, 20, perhaps even more years of gas which can come ashore.
In this case, with regards to Gaza, are there territorial disputes over who would actually own the gas still?
Well, in political terms, Israel conceded the Gaza Marine Field to the Palestinian Authority many years ago. But in strictly legal terms, there is still ambiguity over who owns it. The setback to this in oil and gas terms is that off the Gaza Strip there's probably not any other gas field which is worthy of exploiting, and nor is there likely to be oil to be discovered. By contrast, Israel continues to discover gas and is on the point of looking beneath its current gas fields to see if, as they expect, there is some oil there as well.
Simon Henderson, once again, of the Washington Institute. Well, Gaza may be sitting on some sizable reserves, but it's not the only player in the eastern Mediterranean basin. I had a chance to visit both Cyprus and Lebanon. They're hoping their recent discoveries will radically change the fortunes for their two countries. It may be early days in the quest for energy underneath the first platform in the crystal blue waters of the Mediterranean, but the bounty may be sizable for a small country like Cyprus. The minister overseeing this portfolio for the island nation says the natural gas will make his country energy independent for a generation.
Cyprus requires about 0.5 trillion cubic feet for 25 years for electricity production in Cyprus. Now, we have a discovery which ranges between 3.6 to 6, so most of that will go for exports.
The eastern Mediterranean is considered a new energy frontier. Israel, Lebanon, and Egypt have also marked their territories and are busy evaluating their potential. Texas-based Noble Energy did its first energy drilling work last summer in Cyprus, indicating there is potentially 3 billion barrels of oil in the field with a shared boundary between Cyprus and Israel. The one block that has been surveyed when brought to market would represent more than 100% of the country's GDP of $23 billion. This would be a massive turnaround for Cyprus, which needed a bank bailout a year ago. Across the waters in Lebanon, the calculations are much grander. Freddie Boz of Bank Audi says the government's share of energy revenues could total $700 billion.
Even if we assume, a 20-30% haircut on this figure for whatever geological or commercial risk, we are still talking about a figure which represents 12 to 15 times the current size of the economy.
Energy potentially changing the landscape in the eastern Mediterranean if all the parties can find common ground. And that's all for this edition of CNN Marketplace Middle East. I'm John Defterius. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.